Hi, folks. This is Rick Doc Walker, the DOC.
This is John Kime, and you're listening to the Mess Hall with Rally Captain and Tailgate Ted.
What's going on, Rally? How you doing, man?
Yo, Ted, well, with all this news that has popped out about brisket and everything else, I mean, I have to say, at one point in time, I was not looking forward to this week, but I'm actually looking forward to it, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm still trying to recover from New York City. I'm not gonna lie. It was a long trip up there, and thank God for Mike over at Don't Sleep Energy. He saved my ass on that trip because the missus and I were in New York, and I mean, everyone's heard it called the city that never sleeps. I don't know if everyone else there is running on Don't Sleep Energy, but I sure as hell was because we saw four shows. We saw the Rockettes. I made it out to the Jets Commanders game, and I should have brought more Don't Sleeps with me because I was up until maybe two every day. And shoot, a couple days got up at six, couple days got up at seven, just running around town. So I am glad to be off my vacation, man.
Well, it looked like you guys had a lot of fun from the pictures that I saw. I mean, I could tell that you were very active. And I was like, okay, but here's the thing. I saw Mrs. Tailgate. I saw all 32 teeth from her. So that let me know that you were doing something right. Okay. So shout out to Mike because Mike saved you, it looks like. And I gotta tell you, Mike also saved me because I did a turn and burn. And for those who don't know what a turn and burn is, I decided to get up Sunday morning and see the game and turn right back around and come back for to get back to get to work. So it was truly a well, not to work, but just to get back for Christmas for my family. But it was truly a situation where it's not for the faint of heart. Let me tell you. So I got up around 5 o'clock and I had my Don't Sleep energy drink and I even I had the cherry and I took a picture of it and I put it on X and it's hard saying X versus Twit, but
Yeah, it
nevertheless,
is.
everyone knows what I'm talking about. But nevertheless, so I took a picture of it, and that thing helped me. It worked so good to where I only needed the one, and that was the one that got me started. Even after the game, I thought I may need one, but I didn't. So shout out to Mike. And if you guys need a boost, trust and believe what Ted and I'm saying is because don't sleep energy drink will save you in a pinch when you need to stay up. And just because the season's almost over, that does not mean that he's still not offering the code and the reduced price for entering DMV Mess Hall in the code section. So do yourself a favor, type in "Don't Sleep Energy Drink" on your browser, Google it, and DMV Mess Hall in the promotions code. You'll get your discount and you'll get a great product.
Yeah, definitely a great product because I got back from the Jets game and Mrs. Tailgate didn't go to the game. I didn't want to put her through that, sitting outside in the cold and being in MetLife Stadium. And I got to MetLife at like, I want to say 7:30 in the morning. Zero chance she would have been cool with that. She said, the only thing is don't come back Christmas Eve wasted and don't complain that you're tired. So I had stopped buying beers inside MetLife, and my boy Tim actually did a turn and burn like you. He drove up that morning and had some don't sleeps left over from one of the tailgates and had a couple of those on the way up. And then he drove me back into New York City. And then he drove straight home. And he must have been doing a buck 10 because he texted me a couple hours later and said he was already back in Maryland. I'm like, how the hell did you do that? But
Wow.
yeah, I can't believe it, but we did a dinner with some friends on Christmas Eve and went to go see another show and running around and then somehow survived the man through Christmas Day. But man, it was a fun trip regardless of the game. I got to tailgate with my brother from another mother, Tailgate Joe. The guy does a massive tailgate out there at MetLife Stadium. And I found out his secret because I've been wondering. They do all these videos. We're not that high tech at Hell Barbecue. So they do all these different promo videos and TikToks. He pays these people to actually work the bar. He pays a DJ And if any of my crew's listening, don't get any ideas because we ain't about that. We don't got cash like that. But he charges, like I said before in an earlier pod, $65 to $450 to attend his tailgate. And he takes
So
that
so
money.
so
Yep.
so just so on the same page, what does the $65 get you? Two hot dogs, and what does it for $450 get you? Champagne and prime rib? I mean, what's the difference here, bro?
So there was a top shelf bar, I think, regardless, but you had a private little area with heated tents and your own little tent and all this other stuff if you pay the high price piece of it. And the $65 gets you in the tailgate, gets you drinks, gets you food. And the food was top notch, man. He had a bunch of good grub over there. They don't theme it like we do at Hale Barbecue, but they definitely, because I was curious, is he going to have half smokes? What's he going to do? And, it's just a completely different way to do things up there. But it was a lot of fun because I got to go to a tailgate and actually not cook. It didn't feel weird to not cook. It was just nice to be a guest. So I'm guessing this is how everyone's going to feel this weekend coming up at the 49ers game when they come to party with us. But this is the first time I actually had fun at an away game in a while because I just got to let loose and see how another tailgate really goes. Because you came to the tailgate in Atlanta. I think you stopped by the one I was out there. And to me, no offense to my brothers and sisters that were putting that on, it just wasn't the same. This was a legit, like full on party. And I got to hang out with Fireman Ed, the guy that yells JETS, 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 and shoot the S with him. He was a good friend of Chief Z's back in the day. And no one cared about who won. We were all just arguing about please beat our team. I mean, nobody was being a dick. Everyone was just having a good time. And it was Christmas Eve, man, and everyone was in good spirits. So it was fun.
Yeah, man. So my intention was to try to get there to see him and see you, but I got turned around, and so I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna go 50 steps this way and then have to walk back 200 steps the other way. And just my timing wasn't right. I was able to get on the field, but even still, I only had basically, I'd say 20 to 30 minutes, if you will. And when you're not really for sure where you're supposed to go, I just said, you know what? I don't want to try to attempt to walk over here when this may not even be the right area. So, but people were very helpful, if you will. I just didn't want to. I know how it is at FedEx, and MetLife's parking lot is not as big as FedEx's parking lot, but nevertheless, it's big. And when you don't know where you're going, yeah, I just said, okay, I'll have to pass and catch the next one. But I did see him. They allow him to actually stand up. Well, wait a minute. There's two guys. So I'm not sure which one was Tailgate Joe, but there are two guys that they actually allow to stand on either the chair or the wall, and the camera shows them. And I thought that was pretty cool, and something that maybe the Commanders could adapt, possibly, but who knows? But I thought it was pretty cool that they allowed them to stand up there for the opening kickoff and any time, or actually any kickoff, and they allowed them to basically spell the JETS Jets out. And with their little hands gestures, it almost reminded me like of Texas A&M. I'm not sure if you ever seen how Texas A&M, how the Aggies have their hype man who spell whatever they put these symbols, and everybody calls and responds, if you will, about the whole Texas A&M. And but to see the fans respond to them with the JETS was pretty awesome, man. Because I think I'd only been to a Jets game, maybe no, I've been to a Jets game. I think it was back in 2014, possibly 15, possibly, and I didn't even pay any attention to it. But this game, I really paid attention to it, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was, man. And I was making notes, I'm not trying to knock FedEx, but I was, MetLife 1, Fedex Field 0. So I was just counting down the list. Like the fact that MetLife tells you how much time is left when there's a TV timeout. Like, hey, because I know Commanders ownership follows me and they see my tweets just because I've talked to them about it. So I'm like,
Hmm.
not trying to knock FedEx completely, but this is different things that you guys can input in FedEx Field that would actually go a long way just to have someone to know, okay, hey, I've got 3 minutes to go run to get a beer or 3 minutes to go run to the bathroom and back before the TV timeout's done. Something as
Yeah,
simple as that would go a long way
yeah.
with a fan base. Putting up what was it? Fireman Ed, and they had Jets Man and a bunch of other people on third down plays, and the camera knows where they are and it focuses on them, and they've got a split screen view of those super fans, if you will, getting the crowd hyped up. It goes a long way into getting the fan base to actually yell and cheer and get behind them. I
Well,
mean, try and highlight that. They could do
not
that for
not
you.
yeah, not and that's what I was gonna say. Not only that, don't get me wrong, fans like to see, if you will, the pre-recorded players saying, during the little "I can't hear you" that get louder. They like to see that, but at the same time, I'm in agreement with you. What goes a long way is real time, a true fan that they can actually touch and say hello to. You can't do that to the players. So when you see someone who's just like you, who's in the trenches, and you're telling everybody to get louder, that's my whole name, Rally Captain. I rally people. So it's little things like that that don't cost anything. You know what I mean? There's so many
Yeah.
things that you can do in house that don't cost a dime, but will transcend thousands of people. So I'm in agreement with you, man.
They used to do it with Chief Z. When he would go to different sections, they would put him on there. I mean, they could do it with you. They could do it with, I don't know who the new Commanders fan of the year is. I've never met her before, but, maybe show her. Where we all sit. It likes to get the hog farmers a ton in the end zone, but I don't see anyone else on that camera. And I'm not upset about it. I could really care less. I don't sit in the front row. It doesn't really bother me, but just to get the fan base hyped up. At one point, I was actually cheering louder for the Jets than the actual Jets fans were. And maybe because, yeah,
What?
well, I'll get into that
What?
story in a minute. I'll get to it in a minute, but maybe because their team is not good, but they do a lot of different things inside their stadium that would really translate to Fedex Field. They had a massive, massive screen in the lower concourse when you're walking around getting food. So you don't miss the play. It's not this little tiny ass LCD TV that you have to sit there and look underneath an overhang. And, I give FedEx Field a one up because our food's better than the food over there at MetLife, at least in the lower concourse that I saw. We definitely blow them away food wise. But I wasn't shy, man. I was rooting for the Jets to win that game. I was pulling for the Jets to kick our ass, and I did not want to win. And I know it pissed off one young lady that was actually sitting in the section beside me because when they put Brissett back in, when they put Brissett in for Hal, I'm thinking, oh, here we go. This is going to be Rivera's final FU to this fan base to screw us draft position. And it just so happened that my boy Tim and I moved seats and got upgraded, and we were a section over from you. So I saw you cheering, hanging out, finally got your attention. And I know you weren't pulling, I guess, loudly and vividly or visually for a loss, but inside, what were you rooting for on Sunday, or this past Sunday?
Well, it goes back to our previous pod. I said that what they would do is make it a competitive game, but will find a way to lose. And I stuck by that. Now, one of the things that we were texting back and forth by saying we didn't think that they were going to look that bad. Uh, because when it was 27-7, we were just like, holy crap, man. I mean, I really wasn't expecting that. I was expecting more of a 14-7, 14-10. Keep it close, guys. But ultimately, we do want to try to lose, but keep putting good stuff on tape. That's what I expected. I really did. I didn't expect them to come out the way that as flat as they did. And then when Brissett came in, I said, okay, once again, we're not gonna win, but just be competitive. And it goes back to what I'm gonna. I'll tell this to you. I'll tell it to our listeners. I'll tell it to anybody that wants to listen. There's no way you wanted to win that game when on the last play of the game you didn't try a Hail Mary. You did a 10-yard out with your tight end and threw the ball over the middle, knowing that that was all that was left in the game. You didn't try to get a PI. You didn't try to get in the field goal range. You didn't try to do any of that. So that goes back to what I was just saying. I knew we weren't going to win the game because that's just how I felt from weeks prior. Now, this upcoming week, I want to beat San Francisco. And I know that ultimately it's going to hurt our draft pick, but I want to beat San Francisco. But getting back to the Jets game, I felt that we weren't going to win just because of how everything unfolded.
So Sam was 5 for 17 for 51 yards in the first half. I mean, the Jets hadn't scored 17 points in a quarter in over a decade. At a certain point in the game, I just got up and left the section I was in to go meet up with my boy Tim. It's like, you know what? I don't need to watch this. I'm just going to walk around MetLife right now and try and see what the stadium has and maybe get some recommendations for ownership and just enjoy that. And all of a sudden, I guess Mayo caught an interception and we're driving down. It's like, oh, okay, well, it's getting a little bit interesting here, but I'm just going to walk around the stadium. And I finally got back to the seat I was supposed to be in the second quarter, and Sam was still in. We're still getting our ass kicked. I felt they should have, if they were going to pull Sam, why'd they leave him in as long as they did? Why didn't they pull Sam earlier? He had 2 picks at that point. Why didn't you pull him after the first one? He had let's see here, a 1.7 QBR. I mean, I have never seen a QBR that low in my life. It's unbelievable that that's actually what the record was for him. And Brissett comes in. The second he came in, thinking, here we go. Because Trevor Siemian is not a good quarterback. Trevor Siemian was 27 of 49, and I don't know how many times he had guys open, but he just missed them. And they just kept going 3 and out, and weren't converting third downs. And Brissett was 10 for 13 for 100 yards. It's like, I mean, he's moving the ball. All of a sudden, we haven't had a running game. And next thing you know, here comes Chris Rodriguez averaging almost 6 yards a carry. So
Yeah.
I did think we were going to win that game. I did think that we were going to come back and win that game. And when we went ahead, thinking, you got to be kidding me. And I'm not going to lie, dude. I was standing up, and there were a couple of others. I don't want to say Commanders fans because they were rocking old gear. They were actually, and dude, tell me how small a world this is. So when the Commanders did the whole Sean Taylor rally towel and they messed that thing up, I took an order and made a website and got Sean Taylor rally towels for fans all across the world. And I
Yes, I
was
remember that.
mailing them out. So I mailed them out to a bunch of fans all across the world. One of the guys was sitting in the row 4 seats down from me that I actually mailed that rally towel to.
Wow.
It was crazy, man. Because I mean, he said, are you Tailgate Ted? Like, well, I got the jersey on the back. And I always get a bunch of Jets fans that say, oh, hey, it's you. They're all just giving me crap. But this guy actually is like, he showed me a picture of the towel, man. And that kind of, not going to say, I shed a tear, but it was kind of cool to see that happened and someone actually got that thing. But he and I were both cheering for the Jets defense at a certain point during Brissett's last drive when we took that go ahead, because I did not want to win that game. We would have moved down to potentially the 9th pick. And with the loss, we're now third in the
Yeah.
NFL draft position. And
Yeah.
that's a huge difference.
Very, very huge. Well, here's something else that I don't get to listen a lot, but one thing that I did hear is hypothetically, if we lose against San Fran and Phoenix beats Arizona beats who do they play? So Seattle, we'll go to the second pick. Now, I know it's very hard to do as far as the Cardinals beating Seattle, but you never know. And you just never know. And if by chance we get the second pick, I see some fabulous things going for us. But before we can get to that point, we do have a ball game that needs to be played, and that will be played. So we're gonna see what happens. And we're still on the Jets. So I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna hold that thought and stay with the Jets game versus moving on to see it to San Fran.
I know it's tough for a lot of fans to comprehend that you can root against your team. But in my mind, I'm not rooting against my team. I'm rooting for my team to be better. And realistically, having a higher draft pick, regardless if we take a quarterback or we take someone else or we trade back, you are in a better position to make more advantageous moves for your team. And the woman that actually, the young lady took pictures of me cheering the Jets on. I'm not shy about it. I was on freaking Fox 5 talking about it. I don't want us to win. So I was waving to her and saying hi. I'm waving in the picture. And I looked to see if she posted anywhere. Haven't found it anywhere. But I actively was not wanting us to do anything. And if one of the commanders, owners, anyone saw it, hey, I told to them too. I did not want us to win that game. And I was freaking out. And no, the Jets fans weren't buying me beer because I was cheering them on. This is just realistically, from my standpoint, we could potentially have, the second pick. And I think it actually came out that we have a 24% chance of having the second pick. But even if we get the third or fourth pick, the amount of people that want Marvin Harrison Jr. or someone else, we can trade back and get more. Even those people that are delusional enough to think that Sam Howell is still the future. And I'm sorry to tell you all, he is not the future quarterback here. He will not be QB1 next year. He has been
No.
benched 2 weeks in a row. He is not starting this week. The new regime, he's still under contract. So they may give Sam a chance. But I do not feel that the new coach and new GM should be stuck inheriting, and we've said this since training camp, they should not get stuck with a quarterback that the previous coach who got fired drafted. Gruden got stuck with a QB he didn't want. Shanahan got stuck with a QB he didn't want.
Yeah.
Rivera got stuck with a QB he didn't want. God rest his soul. But it happened to everybody. And that's why I like Jacoby Brissett's contract. It's a 1-year deal. After this year, Briss gets a free agent. And who knows? Bring him back. I'm fine with it. But realistically, Sam ain't it.
Yeah, I see. I have to say that I was a howler. I was a Sam Howler, and I will go to my grave saying that. But like echoing what you're saying, we've seen it many a times. And one of the, I would say, the most recent is when the Arizona Cardinals, I'm not sure, it may have happened even after that, but what sticks out of my mind is the Arizona Cardinals had a number one draft pick. They went with a quarterback. He was on the team for a year. The new coach came in and said, "Nope, I don't care that you picked him number one. I want Kyler Murray." And he brought Kyler Murray in and unseated that number one guy. Coaches want who they want, and as a perspective of my job's on the line, so I want the best who's around me. It's no different than a lot of people don't like Deion Sanders, but Deion Sanders says, my job's on the line. This is a performance-based job. I get paid by wins and losses, so I'm going to do whatever it takes to bring in the best talent. And I think that's what we're going to see this next year. Now, what I can see is, as you said, Sam still being on the roster, and he'll be maybe the third string quarterback, because I believe that Brissett, depending on how he does these next 2 games, he's raising eyebrows with ownerships as well as a new GM and coach that are possibly vying for this position. So he's raised eyebrows. He's also raised eyebrows within the fan base. The fan base likes Brissett. We like the fact that he can come in and do what needs to be done. What it also does, Ted, what it also does to our listeners is, and this is no secret, it finally allows you to see Eric Bieniemy's offense run with proficiency the way it's supposed to be run. Not saying that Sam couldn't do it, but we saw he had issues with it. Let's face it, he had issues with it. And now we have an experienced quarterback who can spot things that maybe Sam didn't see, or he saw it but was afraid to do it. It's always one thing to actually see it. It's another thing to do it. So Brissett now can do it. This goes a long way as far as Coach Bieniemy as well, because he can say if they want to keep him, which right now is 50-50. Nobody really knows. No one's safe right now. They just aren't. But if by chance Brissett comes in and lights it up, he can say, I told you this is what my offense could do, but I didn't have the right person doing it. So we're gonna see, man. Ted, I got to tell you, as I said, I'm excited, and I know I probably shouldn't be, but here's the other reason why I'm excited. And I know that we could possibly, if we win, we can squander our chances for from third to ninth, hypothetically, or 10th, or whatever it is. But the reason why I'm excited, there's another reason why I'm excited, and that reason is we're hanging our hat on this third round draft pick or whatever have you. Well, where I'm still not sold is I don't know who is going to be the person who's picking for us, because sometimes more, you can do more with less. I don't mind us going possibly to the 10th, possibly, depending on who is going to be our guy picking the talent, because that ultimately is what's going to save us. Not necessarily the position, but who is going to do the picking, and what type of skills do they have as far as wheeling and dealing. Because I told you guys, and I hate to use Dallas as an example, but I'll just use Dallas as an example. We could have the third round pick, and Dallas could have the 15th round pick, but their pick hits better than our third round pick. So that's the only reason why I say at this point, don't necessarily hang your head on that third round pick.
You're talking about third pick overall, but I
Third
get
pick,
you. And
yeah, third pick
and
overall. My bad. Yeah,
to me, it's not about that. It's about the potential. I trust the ownership group, the Hogs, to bring in a true talent evaluator. Ron Rivera got dumped on us because no one wanted to work here. The problem we had in the past was Vinny Serrato was a yes man to Dan Snyder. And we paid for the sins of Vinny Serrato for decades. The
yeah,
horrible drafts that Vinny Serrato had. Then you brought in McLuhan here. And McLuhan had, allegedly a drinking problem and a bunch of other issues. Then we had Bruce Allen here. We have had horrible GMs because the person hiring them was a horrible person. Yeah, he surrounded himself with sycophants.
yeah.
Josh Harris is a winner. This ownership group, they are winners. Magic Johnson is a winner. I trust them to bring in a winner to make the right choices for the fan base and for this franchise. That's why, in my mind, yes, okay, it depends on who you pick, because there are a lot of people say, well, if we drafted Tua, if we drafted Chase Young, or instead of Chase Young, if we drafted Joe Burrow, who knows if they would have actually been Joe Burrow? And I agree with that 1,000%, because we did not have the coaches to properly groom the talent that we have had. It is
Yeah.
no secret that when players leave Washington, they're good on other teams because those other teams have better coaches. They've got better facilities. They've got better things to set them up to succeed. And we have not had that here. But now this new ownership group is going to put us on an even playing field with the rest of the league, where we have been fighting with one hand tied behind our back because our owner, excuse my language, was shit. We don't have that anymore. So now that we're actually going to be able to fight on par on the same level with these other teams, with these other powerhouses, then I'm not going to settle. You have fans out there that are settling for Sam Howell because he is the 9th quarterback that will have started underneath Ron Rivera, and he's the best one that we've seen. But we as a fan base should not have to settle. There is better out there for other fan bases and other teams, and we deserve that too. We've been through hell for 24 years, and that's over with now. It's going to get better, but we shouldn't try and convince ourselves that, oh, well, Sam's as good as it's been, so let's just stick with that. Let's not worry about anything else. And to me, that mindset is just ridiculous. And I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about just other fans on social media, our listeners, and just other people in general.
Well, it goes back to what you said. It's the fact that he has looked the best in a long time, and we're clinging on to anything, and now we get to see in 2004. Mind you, we still have 2 games left, but we get to see in 2004 what this new ownership group is really going to be about. Because let's face it, they still need to put butts in seats. And right now, I've talked to a lot of people who said that they did not renew, and they feel it. They
Yeah.
feel it and they know it. And that goes back to what I said before, as far as this wasn't the right time to jack the ticket prices up. We knew it was going to come, but I think that what you should have done is you should have put the people in place first, and then you can sell that to your fans versus you got an inferior product on the field, and because of now we're just going to slap you while you're down. That didn't feel good. And because of that, a lot of people that I talked to said, nah, not doing it. Now, maybe what happens in the future, I'll come back if I can. But if it's not, maybe it's not meant for me to be. And so that spoke volumes to me, you know?
Realistically, we've said this numerous times, being a season ticket holder is a bad idea. It's a bad investment. You can get 49ers tickets for this weekend. Let me just pull up StubHub right now. You can get 49ers tickets for this weekend. Let's see, 49ers, Commanders.
Yeah, right now it's a bad investment. It just is.
I mean, it
You,
is.
you get very little on your return, other than saying, "Yeah, I'm a season ticket holder." I don't know how much I have to, how much more I got to take, and the Commanders need to be paying you to go to see the games. I mean, you're the only one who blah 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 blah. Blah. I get tired of it, you know, and I get tired of trying to rebut why I go to the games, you know, and all that type of stuff. But let me hear what's the bad news of what the return investment is for the 49ers game this week.
I'm seeing lowers for $100. My
Damn.
ticket itself says a buck 75 face value on the ticket. But the thing is, the Cowboys ticket next week, I guarantee you, you're not going to find anything for that cheap. So it just
No.
depends on what you want to do as a fan. Do you want
Yeah.
to be at every game? Do you want to be in the same section? My boy Tim with the tailgate, you know, he's not renewing his season tickets. He is
Yeah.
going to go game by game next year and does not care because he doesn't care about the people he sits next to. If you care about the people you sit next to, because it's like a family,
Yeah.
then yeah, stay in the same spot and do season tickets. The other thing is if you care about the chance to pick your location in the new stadium, wherever that may be, then you better have season tickets because it's going to go by seniority. And all
Hmm.
these people that are jumping ship right now, and I can't blame them at all, but all these
No.
people that are jumping ship right now, they're just going to move to the back of the line. And yes, there is a line. Yes, people are going to be in front of you, and we're not sold out. This will be the first home game, probably, that they're not going to sell out because it's New Year's Eve. The
Hmm.
49ers fans aren't going to travel cross country to come see their team kick our ass. They're going to save their money for the playoffs at that point.
Yeah.
So people can still grab tickets. You'll be able to grab tickets next year. It's not that big a deal. I just, I agree with you. Part of me also wants to talk to ownership and find out, did this ticket increase come by a decree of the new ownership, or was this something that was always set in place? And they're just going through the motions of that from the previous regime because our tickets did go up last year, a
Yeah.
percentage. And regardless, we want them to make an investment in the stadium. And I get it. Just the messaging that I've tried to tell them was bad. It was piss poor. And I told Jets fans tickets went up too. Someone's got to pay for Aaron Rodgers' contract. They
Hmm.
got their invoice a lot earlier than we did. Lions fans, they got their invoice a lot later, but they're in the playoffs. There's just how you actually spin this message. And
Yeah.
we don't know who our quarterback's going to be. We don't know who our coach is going to be. We don't know who our GM's going to be. All I know is that it's going to be better
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah.
It's not going to be better next year. Who knows? We could finish out 4-13. We might win 5 games next year. It's going to be better. Or we might win 2 games next year. But to me, if we win 2 games next year, but we actually see a future, then that's a different story. We won 4 games this year, and we don't have a future in sight right now. We have so many holes and so many question marks.
What it's going to boil down to, or what it boils down to, is pay me now or pay me more later. That's what it's going to boil down to. And I'm under the impression, you know what? I know I'm going to get hit over the head anyway, so I'll just continue to pay right now versus paying more later. As far as being a season ticket holder, that's what I look at. And I like the question that you posed. You know, why the messaging now? And it just didn't bode well with everyone, and you just made a lot of people turn their backs on you who otherwise were trying to be faithful. They really were. A lot of people were trying, and they all see the writing on the wall. We all see the writing on the wall. No doubt about it. It's just man, you guys just you already had that wrench in us and now you're turning it and we didn't like it.
Yeah, and we said before, this is the first strike against the ownership group. It's not baseball. They're going to get more than three. But realistically, there are people saying, I'm done. They're benching Sam Howell. This is horrible. I'm out. Like, really, guys, stop crying wolf. We've been through 24 years of this. This is Rivera's ninth quarterback change. How many quarterbacks have we had since Kirk here? And you're out now? We just got rid of Dan. Stop pretending that you're gone. And if this is the straw that broke the camel's back because Sam Howell got benched, or because they haven't fired Ron Rivera yet, or because they raised the season ticket price, after sitting through decades and decades of Snyder, then bye. I don't have time for your drama.
Well, I think also, Ted, what people expected, truthfully, what they expected was to add water and stir with the new ownership group. A lot of people, I believe, really did expect that. And they were just happy to come back because Dan was gone.
Then
Let,
shame on
let's
them.
let but that's let's put it in perspective. You know as well as I do that I talk to a lot of people, and when you would travel to away games, you would hear the exact same thing, or even being in town, that they said I would never spend another dime as long as Dan is here. Well, once Dan was gone, they bought back in. Unfortunately, the product didn't move as fast as Dan did getting out of town.
But
That was the issue.
realistically, you buy back in, that's fine, but you have to have realistic expectations. We've been talking about tempering your expectations for several weeks now, but as a fan of this team, if you just go back and look, you had a quarterback in Sam Howell that played one game against the
Yeah,
Cowboys last year.
11
So,
passes.
yeah, that's it. You have a new offensive coordinator coming in here at that point that's going to try and teach this kid a brand new system. You had a horrible offensive line that did not get fixed. There
Yeah,
were a bunch of holes on this team. And
no upgrades. Yeah,
unfortunately, when we tried and keep up with the Joneses, the rest of the NFC East, we did not do that.
no,
And I had us on record winning 10 games because I thought the defense would be better. But I could have easily said we were going to win 7. Going through and looking at that, I was trying to convince myself it was going to be better because of what I saw from Sam in training camp and because of what I saw from the defense in training camp, let alone
yeah.
the actual defense was going against our offense, which was bad.
You know, it's weird, man, when you put it in perspective. The rest of the NFC East, they were picking out Ferraris, they were picking out Cadillacs. I mean, they were doing all the high end stuff. But here we were just rotating the tires on our Chevelle. We were rotating the tires and changing the oil every 5,000 miles, and that's all we did. We didn't do. So I totally get what you're saying, man. If you want to put it in perspective of cars, because they had a lot of shiny new objects, and we were all saying, well, where are our shiny objects? Come on now, what are we doing here? And so that's what we were doing. We just rotated the tires basically, and kept our oil changed, and kept the interior clean. You know, that's basically what we did. And the car was roadworthy, but it could never compete with anybody in a quarter mile, if you will. So yeah.
No, we tried to convince ourselves that Emmanuel Forbes was going to make a difference when the kid has barely played any snaps. We are paying for the sins of Ron Rivera, the GM. And none of that changed when new ownership came in. It couldn't change because it took too long for them to take ownership of this team. So realistic, I'm not holding this year. I'm not holding this year against them. When Snyder was on the way out, people kept talking about how 1999, when Snyder took over, Dan did not get credit for going to the playoffs then because Dan inherited that team from the previous regime. So he should not get credit. In hindsight, the same should be true for this ownership group. They don't get blamed for the past debacle that has been 2023.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot put this stain on their record because they let this play out and it was already constructed ahead of time. And it is what it is. I mean, just like you talked about that previous quarterback from Arizona, it was Josh Rosen, right? Josh
Yeah.
Rosen, they drafted 10th overall and had a chance to do something better with Kyler. And hey, they went with Kyler. You know, kid likes to play Madden, but he's damn good on the football field too. It is what it is. And changes are coming. Now, they have already said, if you're listening to our podcast, you know that Sam is done. They're saying, and let me see if you believe this. Ron is saying that this is about Sam's development. And this is actually from his press conference the other day.
This is about, Sam's continued development. And, things hadn't gone as well as we'd like for them the last few weeks. So, we just think this is a good opportunity for him to watch. And, I think Jacoby, being the professional that he is and really playing the way he has really going to give, I think, Sam an opportunity to see some things and see how the offense goes. And I think it'll help him.
So before you answer, let me hear what you think about EB's comment here.
To that point, how much of this change was about the other 50?
You always have to consider. This is a team sport. We got to make sure that we are doing what is right, not just for the team, but also, too, what is best for the organization. And right now, this is what's best.
Do you think Sam is being benched for his development or because the other 52 guys in that locker room are pissed and tired of getting embarrassed on Sunday and have contracts and bonuses to play for, and it's about the other 52, not the one?
I'll say 10% development and 90% the other 52 as far as being frustrated and pissed off. Because I do believe that he's not developing. He's reached a point. He's plateaued. And so because of that, and it shows, because of that, we got to sit him. And now we really have to focus on these other guys that are on the team. So I'd say 90% the other 52 and 10% on his development.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that Sam hit a wall. He hasn't played this many snaps ever. He hasn't played this many games ever. He hasn't taken this many hits. He hasn't actually used his arm this many times and made this many pass attempts. He's just hit a wall. His mechanics have gone downhill. He just does not look like the same quarterback from before. The offense is the same when Brissett comes in versus Sam. We were down at that point, and Brissett brought us back. And this is actually a quote from a Jets linebacker, C.J. Mosley, that Nicky Javala got. The biggest difference in Washington's offense with Howell versus Brissett, I feel like they stuck to their game. They didn't really change the passing routes. They did run the ball a little bit better in the second half. They did a good job switching up the run game once it got closer. They kind of went back to their bread and butter, so we had to make adjustments because we were playing them more for the pass game. Second half, they ran the ball a little bit better, which helped them get a little more space in the passing game. On why Brissett was more effective than Howell, I'd say just the way the offense was going. We had our ears pinned back a little bit more in the first half, a little bit more aggressive. Like I said, in the second half, they were starting to run the ball a little more. So we had to honor that because they were starting to get some yards on us. So we had to honor the pass game, which made coverage a little softer and shorter routes than he was throwing. Sam, if he doesn't have that quick game and the defenses take that away and disguise things, he can't do anything unless he goes off schedule. That has been Sam the past couple of weeks. And Jacoby, they're trying to disguise plays for him, and he's still able to see it and still able to find the open guy. And granted, defenses have not been game planning for Jacoby, so it's going to be interesting to see how the 49ers game plan for him. But the Jets admittedly said, our coaches told us we will most likely see Brissett come in. 14's on a short leash, so they were still planning for him to come in. But when he came in, he's been 18 to 23 for 224 yards and 3 touchdowns. The offense has just looked better. And like you, I am excited to see Bieniemy's offense with a true veteran quarterback at the helm of it. Because people were yelling and screaming, the receivers aren't getting separation. Well, tell you what, they actually have been. Sam's just been thrown to the wrong ones.
Yeah, and that's the problem. And it goes back to coaches have to sugarcoat things on these pressures. And what I always say it, and I'm not the only one who said it, but people lie, the tape doesn't. And when you go back and look at the tape, you're like, well, why didn't you hit that guy? Well, he couldn't see that guy because he was focused on something else, whatever he was focusing on. And by no means am I trying to henpick the guy. I'm really not, because I couldn't play NFL quarterback, and my hat goes off to him. My hat goes off to all the guys on the squad. I couldn't do it. But when you look back at the tape, that's what I'm speaking of. When you look back at the tape and you say, well, gee, this guy was open. You think that that's when they say, well, what are you seeing or what aren't you seeing? And now it could be a number of things. Could it be a height thing? Could it
Yeah.
be could it be a read thing? And Kobe Brissett just has a better eye because he doesn't have to look around anyone. He can actually see the playing field. I think that may have something to do with it. Man, we're at a point now to where we hate that it took the last two games to see this kid, or not kid, but well, he's younger than me, so he's a kid. We hate that it took this long to see Brissett, but I'm happy that it's finally happened, because at this point, all these players need more on tape. If you just looked at the Commanders' record right now, you wouldn't want to draft any of these or pick any of these guys. If you didn't look at the tape, you wouldn't want to. You'd say, "Oh man, those guys are some bums." If you just looked at the record, but you know that they have some good guys on the squad. So now the put up your best tape that you could come out with, and who knows, you may get picked up by somebody else or even possibly retained here.
And let's be realistic. Sam's 6'1", right? Maybe 6'1". Jacoby's 6'4". Okay. You have linemen in front of you that are 6'5", 6'4",
Yeah.
6'6". So it is about that height. It's about seeing the pocket. It's about being able to actually diagnose things faster. And he is a veteran, so we cannot compare the year's experience to what Sam has. But at a certain point, Sam's trying to scramble because he can't see over the guys.
Yeah.
And I think that has been a big issue. Now, Jacoby, at this point, hasn't really had a chance to actually do anything. And this is actually what he had to say about not starting until week 17.
As John said, you've obviously been through all of this before in various ways. When you came here, I know we asked you this months ago, but looking back, when you came here, did you expect that your first time to be able to really get in there, would not be until so deep into the season?
Hell no. I mean, that would not be a part of I would say my plan. It was for it to be at this point of the season. But hey, that's the cards you dealt, and you just got to go out there and play cards with them.
I know you went to one day of training camp, but I was there for close to 2 weeks. And I don't want people to forget, Brissett did not look good in training camp, right? Sam had a leg up, and they were grading on a curve because he took all the snaps for the first team offense except for maybe one day. But even then, Brissett still did not look good with the second team. He just did not look like the Brissett that we have seen. One knock against Kirk Cousins in the past was when he would come in to fill in for RG3, he did well because other teams did not have a game plan for him. So people haven't had the game plan. Shanahan, guy is one of the smartest coaches out there. And it kills me that we let him walk out the door, but we fired his father. There was zero chance he was going to stick around here. So all you people that keep showing that highlight that all these coaches were here, we fired the guy's dad. He wasn't going to stick around and coach for Dan Snyder. But realistically, Brissett is he's a vet. He's a better QB. He just did not show it at that time. And there are people that are just gamers. And maybe that is Jacoby. But if you just go back and look at Brissett from last year, a lot of our listeners don't pay attention to other teams. They had Nick Chubb, right? Nick Chubb, one of the better running backs in the league. He got hurt this year early on. Brissett wasn't letting the world on fire for the Browns last year. He was averaging less than 200 yards a game, They just had a running attack. Shame on Eric Bieniemy for putting Sam Howell in a position to make it so one-dimensional that no one respected the run, and they just pinned their ears back and came after that kid. So I'm not saying Sam's not going to be a good QB in this league, but in Bieniemy's system, in this offense, he was playing behind a stacked deck.
Yeah.
The house was always going to win.
Well, you mentioned something, and we went as far back as training camp is concerned. I also second that, but what I also said was Brissett can zip the ball. He didn't look as crisp, but I think, Ted, that he probably, and this is I'm trying to go back and I'm going to Monday morning quarterback this thing. He was told that it would be a true quarterback competition, and it wasn't. And he was brought in to be the quarterback, if you will. Well, the whole reason why Sam was the number one QB is because of 11 passes against a formidable foe, Dallas. One. Two, we thought that we could strike oil the way San Francisco did with Purdy, with Howe. That's what we thought. And we said, you know what? This is going to be our guy. San Francisco's doing it. We can do it because he did it against Dallas. It opened everybody's eyes. All we had was an offseason of hype behind of what he did. And we're bringing in Bieniemy, and this is going to happen. And everyone's still thinking back of what the last performance was against Dallas, when Dallas still had something to play for, even though their fans say that they didn't, bullish, because they did, and he beat them. Case in point, period. That bled over into the offseason because of his contract as well, along with Purdy. We saw how deep San Francisco made it last year with Purdy, and we thought we had our version of Purdy. I'm even one that admitted that I thought that as well. Well, now you see that that's not our version of Purdy. We wanted it to be, and we stuck all our claim into it. And now here we are. It bit us in the butt. But going back to my initial thought was, Brissett thought that he was truly coming here to compete. So and I don't care what anybody says, when someone lets you down, you're a pro, but you're still human. And maybe he was off a little bit because in his mind, he was like, man, they lied to me. They lied to me. He's human. So maybe he was a little bit. But now the fact is, he's got an opportunity to do it all and be the man and truly showcase his skills.
And I'm excited for him. I'm excited for Brissett to play for his future because he has earned that right. I am also frustrated because I've already seen everything I need to see out of Sam to tell me that if we do get a chance to draft a Caleb Williams or a Drake May, or I don't even want to get into who we should take yet because you have all these fans. I don't watch college football. I don't have time to watch college football. I am so busy preparing for the tailgate Saturday morning at 6:00 in the morning until late at night. I just don't watch it. So maybe I'll watch a bowl game here and there, but honestly, it's not my sport. But there are others out there that we'll talk to about that. But I am annoyed that this entire season, that all they have been saying is, this is about Sam, this is about Sam, this is about Sam. Getting him experience, leaving him in there in a 4 interception and 9 sack game against the Bills. It's a bad experience. And now you're sitting the kid. And you know what? It's fine. Because I don't think we're going to win this game, shocker, spoiler, against the 49ers. The Niners are coming off a bad Christmas loss to the Ravens. They did not play well on primetime. They're going to come in here pissed off. Brissett is coming in cold. He hasn't had a chance to actually familiarize himself with his receivers. He hasn't had a chance to get on the same page with these guys. And this is actually what Brissett had to say about concerns just not being on the same page with Terry and Jahan and the other guys there.
Is it difficult at all to get on kind of the same page with guys like Terry, Jahan, Curtis in such a short period?
Yeah, man, it's gonna be a challenge for sure. But hey, I'm up for the challenge. I think, I wouldn't be in this situation if I didn't think that I could handle it. So I look forward to it. Obviously just over communicating with those guys and trying to, vocalize some of the things that I want and need and then, once we get on the field and football, those things kind of take care of themselves.
I don't like that question. I don't like that question because, of course, he's going to say no or yes. I'm sorry. Yes, of course, he's going to say yes. It's difficult. But his last statement to me trumped everything. When he's on the field, we've seen different. And these last two games with him coming in, we've seen different. He's made connections with Samuels, with Jahan, with Terry. We've seen it. So it's more of a thing of just going out and playing football and trusting your talents.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's been playing mistake-free football. He's been letting the game come to him versus forcing it. And that's been the big thing is Sam has been forcing it. Yeah. Mitch Tischler took a tweet and sent a video out, and it was on one of Sam's interceptions against the Jets. He left a clean pocket, scrambled out of a completely clean pocket, and was trying to force it. He's been passing up the easy completion, whether it's 5 yards and a first down for a potential Hail Mary and just getting picked off over the field. He's just not there right now. And maybe he does need to sit down. And maybe Rivera is telling some truth when it says this is about Sam's development at that point. Yeah. But
10%.
From my standpoint, Brissett is not the future here. If he's going to be here next year, then great. He's not going to be here as a long-term starter because he's a journeyman backup. That's him. That's his brand. That's just the player he is at this point. He was in Cleveland because Deshaun Watson was suspended. Let's be realistic. That's the only reason he was there. They made that major investment in Deshaun Watson's guaranteed contract, and they got Brissett on the cheap. We didn't trade him because the best we got in a trade offer was a 6th or a 7th round pick. If he was better than that, we would have got better than that in a trade. Trust me, other teams could have used him. We're seeing Joe Flacco play right now. You can't tell me that Brissett wouldn't be better than Joe Flacco right now for the Browns, especially when Brissett was just there. They just didn't offer him that much.
Didn't offer him the money, yeah.
And I am happy to see Jahan Dotson finally get involved again because at a certain point, we were starting to question, is this a sophomore slump or is this kid a little bit of a bust? And what's going on? But this is actually what Brissett had to say about how he expects to beat the 49ers.
Looking at the 49ers, Jacoby, what is it going to take for you guys to get an upset win this weekend?
Just got to go play clean, play clean, good football, obviously they're a good team all around, good offense, good defense, good special teams. So, in this league, you just got to play clean football and, any Sunday, anything can happen. So you give yourself the best chance when you go out there and play clean football.
He's spot on. We can't afford to lose a turnover battle against these guys. No. Jacoby has had a clean sheet. He hasn't been sacked and he hasn't had an interception, but we also haven't played. Granted, the Jets had a good defense. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
The 49ers also have a damn good defense. They are 3rd in rush defense. And guess who's back?
Boom, boom, boom.
Well, I'm not even talking about Chase. From a rushing attack, Jarrett Patterson's back.
Yeah.
Right? And
JP.
Chris Rodriguez is on IR. Jonathan Williams, is in concussion protocol. B-Rob still has the busted hamstring. So now it's going to be AG and Jarrett Patterson's show.
And Gore.
Is Gore? I thought Gore was hurt. But yeah, he could be around, but I thought he was hurt. Regardless, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm just not hanging my hat on those guys. I'm not thinking that they're going to make a big difference in the run game. And going back to it, yeah, Chase is coming back. And he's saying this is just an ordinary game for him. He's treating it like that.
Whatever.
Do you believe that?
No, I don't believe that. Let's face it. Look at people. I view Chase as general public and the Commanders as the police. And any time that a civilian can go into court, if you will, and beat a court case, that's what this is like for Chase. He's coming in here to beat the court case against his former team. He's coming in here to say, I'm going to show you why you should have kept me, or show you why you should have possibly paid me, or whatever you want to put on it. Now, here's the thing. That can go two ways, brother. That really can go two ways. It can help you, meaning giving you the proper motivation, or it can hurt you because then you try to do too much. And all it takes, and we know that a lot of times Chase has tried to do what? Too much. And the quarterback skirts right around him. Now, granted, it's been against different offensive linemen, and who knows how our linemen are going to stack up to him, but they know Chase. They know him for at least the last, 8 weeks? They've known Chase. From training camp, they know what his moves are. They know everything about him. They know his weaknesses, and they know his strengths. So I said this to someone at my job, and yes, I do work for everybody that doesn't think that I work. I said, I don't see Chase getting a sack this week.
I don't know if I agree
it.
with you there. I think he's going to get one this week. Now, granted, Chase had a good game against Seattle since he went over there. He hasn't done well the past couple of weeks.
No.
From a PFF grade, he got a 55.4 against Arizona and a 59.3 against Baltimore. The difference is we're not Arizona. Kyler Murray is a damn good quarterback. They can get out of pressure. And Baltimore is a damn good team. Now, injury-wise, Tyler Larson did not practice because of his knee. Charles Leno has not practiced because of his calf. So our offensive line isn't doing too well. Andrew Wiley was limited with his elbow. Wiley got taken out of the game last week. So I don't know what our offensive line is going to look like when Chase and Bosa come to town. I do agree with you that he's going to try and do too much. He's going to try and prove that we made a mistake. And in today's practice, Larson was a DNP, Leno was a DNP, and Wiley was still limited for today. So it's going to be interesting. I just think that realistically, their defense is just better than our offense. And when push comes to shove, they're going to be able to do what they need to slow us down. But more importantly, I'm not as worried. If you would have told me Brissett was going to start the Jets game, I would have been really pissed because I would have put money down that the Commanders were going to win that game.
Yeah.
But because Sam played as long as he did, it didn't hurt us. There's some fans out there that want to lose that are pissed off because Brissett's coming in. I'm not as concerned because I think the 49ers need this so bad because the NFC race is so tight that they're going to give it their all. And yes, the 49ers could be potentially without Trent Williams, and they could be potentially without a couple other key players. But at the top of the NFC, they're 11-4. The Eagles are 11-4, and the Lions are 11-4, and the Cowboys are 10-5. So it's a tight race. And when it comes down to that, Kyle Shanahan is a better coach than Ron Rivera, just flat out. They've got more weapons than we do. They've got more talent than we have. So I have a feeling that they're going to come out victorious. But this is actually what EB said about what impresses him about the 49ers.
As you look at the Niners, what impresses you about what they do?
I mean, what doesn't impress you about what they do? First of all, they do an outstanding job on defense. Obviously, still Steve Wilkes is a defensive coordinator who I've known for a number of years. In fact, I think me and Steve probably came out the same year in the draft, or maybe he came out 1 year later. But I've known Steve for a long time. He does a great job. With all that said, everything starts up front. Bozer's doing a hell of a job, and then we get to see our old pal Chase come back. Obviously, they got one of the better backers in all of football, and that's not to disrespect anybody else on that team. It's just that I have a connection with my man Fred. Fred Warner and his dad, my younger brother, they basically were very close friends. So I've followed Fred's career for a number of years now. And then there's a corner who's playing for the San Francisco 49ers, who was on our team, who won the Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs when we were there. So I'm very aware of who they are and what they bring to the table. It's going to be a great challenge for us. When it's all said and done, we just need to come out and execute. We got to go play hard. We got to play assignment sound, and we got to be accountable to one another by making sure that we're executing our jobs with great attention to detail.
I'm not saying it's an insurmountable challenge to beat these guys. I mean, the spread started off at 14.5. I think it's down to 12.5. The fact of the matter is it's still double digits, and I'll give you a week off from the power rankings and guessing. Right now, NFL has them at 2. So
they have San Francisco at 2.
San Francisco's at 2. And the Ravens are number 1. They just beat San Francisco. San Fran had been number 1 in the power rankings for several weeks until they lost 33-19 against the Ravens. So it's saying here, even though the 49ers saved face a bit late in the 33-19 loss to the Ravens, it's impossible to overlook how tough a night Brock Purdy and several elements of the offense had. On the first interception, Purdy forced it in the end zone. Bad decision. The second one was a terrific defensive play by Brandon Stevens and Marlon Humphrey. Number 3 was all on Purdy, even if it was a fluky play because he saw 2 flags fly in front of his face before the throw. Purdy's arm was hit on the 4th one, but by that point, the Ravens had landed enough haymakers to make the debate a pretty moot one. It was just a lump of coal all around. San Francisco's offensive line got manhandled after a certain point. The tackling was atrocious for a stretch. It just was not the game I expected from this team at this point in the season. But the Niners have stumbled before and risen again, and I believe they'll be in the thick of the Super Bowl race, especially with the NFC's top seed still very much in play. That scares me, man, because these guys, Purdy had a 4-interception game. He was at one point one of the top 3 favorites to be MVP for the year between Purdy and Lamar Jackson and Christian McCaffrey. And he just had a 4-interception game. You best believe that Shanahan is going to make sure these guys come into DC prepared to light us up. And I don't know if we have enough firepower on this roster to stop them. We might be able to slow them down now that Brissett's in. But for you, do you think we can really stop them on Sunday?
I think that we may not have enough Gatorade in our system. I think that we're going to put up a good fight for these guys, but the game that we wanted to see possibly against the Jets, I think we will see against them, but with the team, with the 49ers coming out on top.
I think you're right. I do think that the Niners are going to win this game. I think the Niners are going to cover the 12.5.
Yeah.
But for fans that are wondering why you watch for the reason that Rally gave you earlier. You watch because you can see Eric Bieniemy's true offense executed the way it should be executed. You had people saying that Bieniemy's horrible, his offense was trash, it was only good because you had Patrick Mahomes running it. And maybe they're right, but we don't know. Sam did not run the offense like Bieniemy wanted it to. And granted, I don't like Bieniemy's offense. After seeing it for this many weeks, I'm not a fan of it. I don't want Bieniemy to be our head coach because of how stubborn he is and how he tries to fit a square peg into a round hole. And I don't think that is good for the long-term success of this franchise. Is he good in front of the camera during his press conferences? Yes. But behind the scenes, when he's coming up with these game plans, I am not a fan of what he tries to do. And even about the execution on the field, you cannot convince me that 3rd and inches or 1st and goal should be run consistently out of shotgun. Maybe that's because I'm old school or what, but realistically, it did not work. It has not worked here all season, but he still tries it. And that is one of the reasons why I don't think Eric Bieniemy should be our coach. And people are going to disagree with me. That's also one of the reasons why I think Shanahan is going to outcoach us and Steve Wilkes is going to outcoach Bieniemy. And we don't have to worry this week about draft pick. Now, when it comes to next week, I might be with you on the same page, Rally, that I want to beat Dallas because we might know from a draft position where we're going to be depending on how it falls. But for me, keys to the game, I don't want to give any Commanders keys to the game because I don't want to sound like a broken record. I'm not pulling for us because I know it's tough for people to swallow, especially listeners of our show. But I do want to see competent football. And we did not see that in the first half of the Jets game. That's what was so embarrassing. If we at least stand toe-to-toe with the Niners and prove that, yes, we're rebuilding, but maybe we don't have as many holes as we thought with Sam running the offense, then I'm good with that.
Yeah. This game, and I know that there aren't any moral victories in football, but this game really needs to have our offense show what it can do. And not only that, but the fans need a little more oomph to go off of. And our offensive line, all we've heard from them is that they're trash all year, when realistically, they have given Sam the 2.3 seconds that he needs, but he just didn't know where to go with the football in that time frame. I'm excited, bro, even though it is against the 49ers, because I'm going to tell you, Mike Tyson said it. Everybody has a game plan until they get punched in the face. And imagine we go out there and punch San Fran in the face, and they're not ready for it, and they're looking past us to their next opponent. Anything is possible.
You're 100% right. Anything is possible. And for you, who is your don't sleep energy player of the week to make sure we get what you're looking for on Sunday?
Well, it'll be too easy to say Brissett, but I'm going to go with I gotta spread it around a little bit and follow me where I'm going with this. Brissett said he needs a clean game. Well, not only he needs a clean game, but the team needs a clean game. In order to beat a formidable foe, you have to have a good performance across the board from all starting players. So I need to see AG. I need to see when it comes time to actually. I'm almost willing to see Patterson because I think that Patterson can spot holes better than AG can. But I need a good running back game. I need to see something from our running backs. I need to obviously see from Brissett. I need to see what Jahan is going to be. How will he be able to answer against San Fran's defense? And I know I'm going across the gamut here, but you just can't pick one person because this is truly going to be a team effort. So please forgive me. And then I really need to see what this secondary is going to be about, man. That's going to be the hurt for us. I feel as though if our secondary doesn't get it together, it's going to be a long day. What about you, man? You. I'm sure you would have made it easier. So go ahead and give it to me.
Mine's gonna be a little different, man. And I'm not shy about what I'm hoping happens on Sunday. But
okay,
for me, my don't sleep energy player is Christian McCaffrey because I want to see him run that ball all up and down the field.
Damn.
And eat that clock up and get us out of FedEx Field as early as possible, almost like a Callahan type offense, where the games were 2.5, 3 hours, just because I want to get to New Year's Eve. I want to enjoy my time with my friends and my family and move on to Dallas week. And not win this game on Sunday, because I understand people are still pulling for it to happen. And I understand a lot of our listeners are, and I'm probably pissing a lot of people off. But realistically, beating them and beating Chase and sticking it to Shanahan, and trust me, man, 2019, they came to FedEx Field, right? And they treated our stadium like a freaking slip and slide, celebrating up and down that turf, all over it, sliding around because it was a freaking monsoon game. And I hate to see that again. And I never thought I'd be wishing this, but I just want to get through the game, have a damn good tailgate, cheers you with a beer and a don't sleep energy, and then bring on Dallas. That's what I'm hoping for. And I think McCaffrey can do it.
All right. Well, it sounds like it. And I hear the music in the background. And for those that don't know, the name of the song is That's Just the Way That It Is. So Ted closed it out, hoping that what he's looking for, that's just the way that it is. So we will see you guys at FedEx Field on Sunday. I can't wait, whether we win, whether we lose, to see all of you guys, because you guys make the experience what it is at FedEx Field. That's going to do it for another edition of the DMV Mess Hall with Tailgate Ted and Rally Captain. Remember, you rep it hard or you don't rep it at all. We'll see you FedEx Field this Sunday. Peace.